just wanted to say, does anybody read the cover of the USA Today this morning? Happen to see that? We did narrowly avoid a government shutdown yet again. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about, on the left, we have a view that corporate leaders need to be regulated to prevent horrible atrocities in the environment and society. On the right, we have a view that markets are self-policing and unfettered capitalism will solve all ills. Government just needs to get out of the way. Both have merit for different reasons, but I'm here to talk to you today about a different approach, one that will bring together rather than polarize the extremes, and it's focused on action. When I worked for a nonprofit organization in the environment in developing countries, we were largely focused on a funding treadmill, and we were labeled as do-gooders. After receiving my MBA, going to an Ivy League school, going to a top-tier consulting firm in New York City, I was largely perceived as successful, even though my sole focus was short-term corporate gain. I believe we're living in a world where doing good has become polarized. And when I joined Cascade Engineering, I realized that there's a different way to do things. Would you agree that culturally, we embrace begrudgingly that self-interest, greed, and getting ahead at the expense of people and the environment, while not perhaps the most virtuous route, is the traditional route for success? And that if you choose the route of making an impact, you might be labeled as a do-gooder who will be fulfilled personally, but never have any credibility or notice. We've siloed making a difference and making good business. By siloing these, we have allowed an increase in unchecked self-interest as an end in and of itself, which has led to greed and short-sightedness. Enron, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, Bernie Madoff, these are symptoms of a larger issue. We have become too focused on short-term corporate gain. What we have is a system of companies on a treadmill of achieving next quarter's financial returns, ignoring environmental and social consequences, because they're chained to the investors, saying next quarter financial returns only. And the customers aren't willing to pay or don't trust those environmental and social benefits that the product may provide because there's a lack of transparency and accountability in their CSR PR. What we have as a result is a government forced to police in and fix these social and environmental problems. And we have a disjointed chorus of nonprofits trying to fix the problems or advocate or complain against the companies for not being a more conscious citizen. And these become stumbling blocks for the corporation and creates a system of rework and waste, as well as a negative cycle of combative and siloed relationships. But there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity for businesses to embrace sustainability at the front end and shift the model from one of waste and counterproductivity to a collective model where we can all add value because we're all pulling in the same direction. When I define sustainability, I define it as looking at the long term. When you look at the long term, the environmental, social, cultural factors come into focus, not just the financial return. Under this model, let's call it option B, I start with an authentically sustainable company and am able to incorporate environmental and social stakeholders up front because you have the support of investors and customers also valuing the long term. Think about it. As an investor, you want your money to grow over time. It's the market that's distorting it to say short-term financial gain, next quarter financial gain. And so when this happens, you're now working in collaboration with rather than combat against the other groups. I'm going to give 3 examples from Cascade's experience. The first one is our Welfare to Career program. We began a program focused on bringing people from welfare into jobs, and it failed. It initially failed, and we discovered that the reason it failed was because we were trying to simply take a different population and plug them into jobs without really listening to their needs. But we tried it again. And this time we focused on their needs and on deeply listening. We unearthed a whole range of issues: racism, childcare, transportation, promotions, work readiness, etc., and it could have been overwhelming. But we kept after it, taking one issue at a time. So we renamed the program from Welfare to Job to Welfare to Career, and we worked in the city to get public transportation stops at our facilities. We made a clear, transparent, promotion-tiered process. We got access to a social worker on site, became familiar with the child care resources locally, and we had our entire organization go through a diversity training, highlighting how different socioeconomic backgrounds can lead to different communication styles. And we created diversity theater and continue all of these programs to today. Our welfare to career retention rate is now 98%, and we've saved the state millions of dollars. In addition, we were used as a model for other companies in our region who took on this program. We've now also taken on prisoner reentry, since the state has more money in incarceration than higher education, and we feel that needs to be addressed. We're also exploring reentry for returning veterans. And we found that the services we provide, the rich dialogues, the clear promotional paths, have helped all of our employees, not just the ones from welfare. We have very low turnover rates as an organization, and our sales increased 20% last year and are projected to grow another 20% next year. In this example, you see a business tackling a social problem that otherwise would have taken a lot of money for government and nonprofits to fix. And we help provide solutions in a long-term, sustainable way, which maximizes value for the whole system. Our key was listening and focusing on the stakeholder needs. To do that, we needed trust, and for trust to form, intention matters. Had we been doing this program for PR or return only, we would have likely given it up when it failed. Finally, we need to get the bottom line out of the forefront so you can focus on creativity and innovation. Bottom line is very important. However, focusing on the bottom line in beginning constricts your creativity. And in the long run, this program did contribute to our success. Let's take another example of my business unit, Triple Quest. We sit here surrounded by the Great Lakes, where water is abundant, but 800 million people lack access to water worldwide, improved water supply. 50% of the world's hospital beds are people suffering from water-related illnesses. And more children under 5 die from water-related disease than from AIDS, malaria, and measles combined. 3.5 million people plus die each year, and it's getting worse. We're going in the wrong direction. We're up from 2.2 million a year to 3.5 million a year. And a study in West Africa found that 70% of the wells installed 2 years prior were no longer functioning. We got connected with a Canadian professor who adapted the centuries-old technology of slow sand filtration to a home-based system by listening to the rural stakeholders and their needs. As a result, unlike expensive and energy-using technologies like reverse osmosis, these systems are low cost and designed for the end user. I was in Honduras earlier this year, and I visited one of the villages that has one of the 50,000 Hydraid BioSand water filters that we have worldwide. And she pulled me into her home excitedly and explained that every one of her children was healthy. And that didn't really impact me. Previously, she said 2 or 3 of her kids were sick every day. And so she cared for them. She took them to the hospital. She worked with them. And then they would get healthy, and the next 2 or 3 would get sick. And so with this simple device, we had given her the ability to have working hours in her day. We had freed her from continuous care, from continuous wood collection, from everything in that area. But the intention was to provide essential needs products to people in developing countries. So the opportunity is that we have the ability to produce 250,000 Hydraid BioSand water filters a year, helping 2.5 million people. And our partners, the Windquest Group, have provided patient capital to see this program through and begun to build momentum. The University of North Carolina ranked the system the #1 point-of-use technology in terms of sustainability. USAID and Rotary International are installing 9,000 Hydraid BioSand water filters in the Dominican Republic. Dow has stepped in to support resin. Amway has supported with R&D resources. And the U.S. Navy provides logistics through Project Handclasp and declared it their #1 requested item on all of their ships. The Safe Water Team is a 501c3 and is raising money to support the efforts. And we hope, with the help of these partners, we're going to create a sustainable business by starting with something good to do. The last example is our pink cart. My mother passed away from breast cancer when I was 6 years old, and now, 3 weeks away from becoming a mother myself, I take pause. Thank you. But it makes me take pause at the prospect of losing your mother to breast cancer. And I identify with Joanne Perkins, who's the business unit leader at Cascade Engineering, and what she has had to go through. Her mother and her grandmother both passed away from breast cancer. And as she reached a milestone birthday, she felt compelled to do something about people suffering. And she decided to make a whole line of the roll-to-the-curb waste carts. Has anyone ever rolled those to the curb? Giant waste carts in pink, with a portion of the proceeds going to the American Cancer Society. They launched this at the Waste Expo, and a surprise look and intimate conversations that ensued were amazing and invigorating. The pink cart now has almost 35,000 Facebook followers, the blog has over 100,000 readers, and we have waste haulers switching to Cascade Engineering carts to get the whole line of carts, since it's the right thing to do, and we innovated something new, and it's becoming a sustainable business. Imagine the impact of 50,000 carts being rolled to the curb every week, and the impact that that has for breast cancer awareness. In all of these examples, the first step was listening to the stakeholders and innovating the new solutions. Then, ensuring, as you work on continuous improvement, to make sure that it's a good business in that order. We often talk about the triple bottom line, environmental, economic, and social, and I think that those three legs are equally important, but that you need to start with the intention of the environmental and social and finish with the financial. 37 years ago, with 2 machines and a handful of employees, my father started Cascade Engineering. He once told me it was the living laboratory to help eradicate poverty, and I loved that purpose and remember it still. Today, we're a multi-million-dollar global company with 1,200 employees and 14 different business units. And we've always been focused on stakeholders and improving our interactions with each one of them. We have a platinum LEED existing building headquarters and are almost zero waste to landfill. And as the largest B Corporation in the world, we're focused on one principle, which is start with something good and then make it a good business. So what's a B Corporation? We became a certified B Corporation so that we can improve in the area of sustainability and improve relative to others. B Corporation is, in essence, a corporate certification to help differentiate sustainable companies from companies with CSR PR. To get a B Corp rating, you take a comprehensive survey that rates you on a variety of dimensions, including purpose, accountability, transparency, etc., and you must pass a certain threshold to become certified. There's also in the works Benefit Corp's legislation, which actually attempts to create a newly recognized corporate form, like a C Corp, an S Corp, or an LLC. So B Corps, and I think this is the key, have expanded fiduciary duty, giving them the permission to simultaneously create shareholder value and stakeholder value. The corporate form has passed in 5 states, is on the governor's desk in California and New York, and is introduced in 8 states, including Michigan. Cascade Engineering is the largest, but we're joined by over 450 other B corporations, representing $2.5 billion in revenue. And we feel that the opportunity that we have as a state to incorporate B corporations is great. Fundamentally, as businesses, we need to look beyond the next quarter financial returns as the end in and of themselves. We need to listen to our stakeholders because that is what will drive the innovation. Focusing on true and authentic sustainability opens our creative minds and taps into our discretionary effort as we attempt to achieve more. Following that up with good business through continuous improvement, and you can have a truly sustainable competitive advantage. Detroit has a vast history of innovation. Henry Ford wanted to make a car for the masses to improve their quality of life, and it was in that drive to do something he believed was good in which the true innovation lay. We need to pick up that entrepreneurial spirit and embrace sustainability as the driver for innovation. So for all you entrepreneurs out there looking for your next big idea, or companies looking for an edge, here's my advice. Listen to your stakeholders. Start with doing something good, and then make it a good business.